Hey there and welcome back to Rimworld. My name is Pete and today we complete another episode of Rimworld Odyssey with the spacefaring Stars of Som. Last time we left off, after scavenging the remains of a pirate space station, we took a prisoner and returned planetside, landing next to some hot springs where we improved our gravship's defenses. We were also informed of not one but two proposals. Both Fabian and Zero, as well as Nick and Deborah, are planning to get married, with the latter two also expecting a child. Finally, we also continued our research of mechanoid technology and culminated that project with a fight against a powerful apocryton to unlock ultra mechtech. And we are still in the process of finishing that research project, as we now send out a small group of fighters here to clear out some insects. The components here could be useful, as our own supply is slowly dwindling. We are also chopping a lot more wood to turn into chem fuel. We have a long-range mineral scanner up and running now, and I expect us to regularly find new deposits that we all need to travel to. To further advance our mech making, we are also going to construct a subcore soft scanner, needed to make standard subcores using a somewhat invasive procedure, best reserved for prisoners, I think. And our captive basically asks for punishment here by going berserk, prompting a quick intervention from Alex and Saber, and, well, let's just say the two of them do not pull any punches. Using her persona Zeus hammer, Alex smashes the poor woman's left arm and leg right off, and with that likely also destroys any hope of turning her into a useful member of this colony. Well, maybe we can make some bionic replacements, but for the time being, the subcore soft scanner is very much the best use for her. A few hours later, and feeling quite dizzy, our prisoner finishes the procedure, and we gain our first standard subcore. In order to craft a useful mechanoid with it, however, we need more plasteel, so good thing we discovered a deposit nearby. Let's send a shuttle over there with Saber and young Cat. As they arrive, they are ambushed. This was to be expected, but 13-year-old Cat is a cold-hearted killer with a masterwork charge rifle and quickly takes care of the issue. The two of them can now start mining. Saber will lead the operation, while Cat can gain some valuable experience, and in case the yield won't be enough, Nelgraf detects a second deposit just a short while later. For now, though, we prepare for combat. It is time to summon another Diabolus, because we want to obtain a second signal chip for crafting. The Diabolus then arrives as expected after a few hours, and we're going in aggressively here. As long as we can avoid its Hellsphere cannon, we should be in good shape. The mech backup consists only of militars and pikemen, nothing that will last too long. We are sending in our combat animals to lock down the robots and melee, while we flank from the side here and concentrate on the Diabolus itself. Once it goes down, the rest of the fight should be trivial. And there we go, that's another signal chip for us to recover. Admittedly, it comes at the cost of a few injuries to our pawns, but as far as I can tell, no one suffered any lasting scars, so if we just give it enough time, everyone should make a full recovery. The second signal chip is then also immediately turned into a bandwidth pack for our mechanitor genie Brent. Equipping it now boosts his mech bandwidth to 15, allowing him to control a decently sized group. Early on the next morning, an exotic goods trade ship passes by, and we purchase a few components and a sentience catalyst from them. The catalyst is then also immediately used on our Alpha Thrombocav myth to make her a little bit easier to train, and this also boosts consciousness by 10%, which in turn positively affects pretty much all of Myth's stats. The rest of the day remains largely uneventful, so with a small break in the action, let me quickly remind you that to celebrate the channel's 10-year anniversary, you can find a limited edition shirt and mug over on shop.petecomplete.com for the rest of the month. From April 16th to April 23rd, you can also get 10% off with promo code EARTH10. Just wanted to let you know, so that if you want something to commemorate 10 years of Pete Complete, this is your chance. Moving on, we are now informed that our mining activities have alerted a nearby mech hive, but with almost 10 days until they arrive, we have nothing to fear. As you can see, Saber and Cat are getting close to the finish line. And the Heather and its crew are also about to move in just a moment. Let's give our animals some space to roam for food and break down the wind turbines before we then accept a quest from the Empire. In exchange for toxic fallout coating the map, we'll obtain some plasteel and a map pointing towards another potentially interesting quest. The toxic fallout then sets in just seconds later, but we are almost good to go and our plans are roofed over, and once all the valuables have been brought back on board, we can lift off. Our destination, yet another plasteel deposit. We've got 2 more down here. Let's take the one that does not have a hostile presence. As we touch down, our crew and animals sadly experience grav nausea from a rough landing procedure, but while they vomit all over the place, Cat and Saber can load up our shuttle with slightly over 400 units of plasteel to wrap up a successful mining operation. Using some of that plasteel, we can now have Brent gestate a Scyther. I'm thinking a small army of these melee mechs should serve us well to protect our ranged combatants and to lock down powerful foes, including other mechanoids. Just in that moment, we also have some cargo pods coming in, and will gladly take some bison wool. Brent always needs new materials for crafting. Our miners are also already going to work again. The lump of plasteel on this map about the same size as the previous one. Together the two should satisfy our demand for a little while. In the meantime, we can keep our other pawns busy with some hunting. This also prevents the warg here from causing problems. And eventually, in the afternoon, we complete Ultra Mechtech. And with that, I think we can finally take a break from research now, with all mechanoid projects now unlocked. At the same time, Furion detects yet another remote plasteel deposit. I think it might be time to make the switch and start scanning for components instead. Plasteel may be a valuable late-game material, but we probably don't need that much of it. We could also start looking for more uranium, as we are now improving the rest of the Heather's hull with this more durable material. Initially, we only did this for the front, where the turrets are located, and thus explosions might occasionally occur, but I think it can't hurt to upgrade the entire ship's hull. Sadly, this also means that we will need to repaint these sections, but Tinctoria is quickly grown if our remaining dye does not suffice. Just as Saber then finishes mining the last block of plasteel on the next morning, we launch our shuttle once more. Fabian, Cat and Saber can now visit the nearby Tal here and gather, you guessed it, more plasteel. The not entirely unexpected ambush then comes in the form of 2 man-hunting bluebirds. Not entirely sure what problem they have with our presence, but either way they pose no threat. And so another round of mining begins. While back on board of the Heather, Nelgrav studies the map we just received from the Empire and discovers the location of an infested settlement. Sounds like we might be fighting bugs here, somewhere in the middle of the ice sheet. Well, since we're going after the nearby gravcore soon anyway, we might as well stop by and see what valuables are hidden in this settlement. For now though, we work on improving the ship with some extra shelves and an orbital scanner in the storage room. This device will automatically scan for points of interest in orbit, things like abandoned space stations, asteroids or mech platforms. And speaking of mechs, our first Scyther is now ready to see the light of day. Say hello to Tagnug, as always named after a channel supporter in the naming rights tier and above. And with Tagnak joining us and the mech gestate freed up, we can now move our mech lab into the slightly more spacious research lab. Our research setup together with comms and pilot console meanwhile can move into the old mech lab. Our plasteel miners also return with another 340 plasteel, pushing our total supply to over 1000. That should hopefully be enough for the time being. With more space available, we now also construct a large mecha recharger and, yes, a subcore rip scanner. Admittedly, I am not entirely sure yet which circumstances make someone deserving of being plugged in here as a sacrifice to obtain a high subcore. If you have any suggestions that fit the personality of our Stars of Som, feel free to let me know. And if you believe that they would not punish anyone like this, regardless of the crime committed, then that is of course valid too. For now at least, we can give our prisoner another round in the soft scanner. Her scanning sickness has worn off, time to give her another 4 days worth of it. Once the subcore has been created, we can then gestate a second Scyther. I think this is a process that we can repeat a few more times until we have a decent number of mechs to guard our front lines. As Alex then goes around smashing open some of Blubber's egg sacs to make more insect meat, we have a combat supplier trade caravan arrive on the map, and while I was briefly tempted to drag them into a fight against yet another Diabolus, I think we'll just trade with them like normal people, selling off some obsolete weaponry in exchange for a charge rifle. This saves us from having to make one ourselves. For the rest of the night then, we work on increasing our food stockpile. Where we're going next, hunting and grazing won't be viable options, so we need to stock up for a few days. Our crops also need to be roofed over before we can leave. As a matter of fact, we want the entire gravship closed off against any sort of weather or environmental effects, because this here is where we are going next, the location of another gravcore, and this one is being contained inside a leaking ancient reactor in the Scarlands. So here we are, landing right outside the ruins containing the reactor, a reactor that covers the entire region in toxic fallout. So we should find and disable it quickly to stop that. Let's send out our fighters to explore the facility. After Fabian successfully hacks open the entry here, we find a deserted corridor behind it. A lone turret stands at the far end, but we're out of its reach for now and can safely head inside to hack the next doorway. Our animals, meanwhile, are being put into attack mode to deal with the turret. They should have little trouble overwhelming it. The room here then unfortunately empty, so let's head through the 2 unlocked doors further down the corridor, a sealed crate and a trap to the north, and 2 crates to the south. Let's keep looking for the reactor first though, before we start looting. And there it is. That was nice and quick, but we shouldn't get too eager now. Not only is the room guarded by several turrets that we can now send our animals in to deal with, but the reactor also has a high chance of exploding when damaged, and as you can imagine, this explosion could perhaps be a little larger than what we're used to from turrets or traps, so once all turrets are destroyed and the animals have left, we keep a safe distance and only now open fire. As the reactor then starts to sizzle, we immediately hightail it out of there, and just in time before the big boom. And there we go. That should cause the toxic fallout to slowly settle, and we can get our hands on yet another gravcore without too much effort. I'm thinking we'll just build another power cell with it. The free energy is extremely handy on the gravship, but if you think we should expand the Heeza's size even further, then let me know in the comments. That could certainly also be done. Although I would ask you for specifics of what kinds of rooms you actually want us to build with the expansion. At the moment, I think there are no glaring holes left in that regard. Now, while we're at it, we might as well explore the ruins in their entirety. So far though, nothing crazy valuable can be found, while what little defenses remain are easily dealt with. Eventually, Fabian finds a sealed container over here and recovers a gravship shield generator, a lovely find as we now have 2 of them, although perhaps not quite enough space to install them both. Nonetheless, using them in turns, activating one when the other runs out, that could ensure a more or less steady shield around the Hisa in combat, so I think we'll try to find some room for it. In the room adjacent, we can also find an abandoned satellite uplink, and the contents of that sealed crate we discovered earlier turn out to be a psychic emanator, essentially a psychic soothe device, boosting the mood of anyone nearby at the cost of 200 watts of power consumption. One more argument in favor of another gravcore power cell, I think. As we are then about to wrap up our exploration tour, Saber suffers a mental break and goes to hide in her room. The rest of the story is quickly told though. Apart from a terminal protected by a hunter drone, we don't find anything more of interest. That terminal also only unlocks a door we no longer need to go through, while the ancient uplink reveals an asteroid rich in plasteel. Well, I think if there's one material we are currently not in dire need of, it is this one. Back on board of the ship then, the psychic emanator is installed and emits a small psychic soothe in a rather large radius, providing a +3 mood bonus for anyone passing through. And with that, I think we have reached a good point to make the cut in today's episode. Our mechs are coming along nicely, the plasteel shortage has been solved, we have obtained another gravcore as well as 2 useful devices to upgrade our gravship with, and with the location of an infested settlement on the frozen ice sheet nearby, our next travel destination is clear too, I think. So, as always, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can of course also go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, don't forget about that Earth10 promo code, or maybe even become a channel member or Patreon supporter. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.